Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Moonrise Human Design Podcast. It has been a little bit since we've added some new episodes here, and it's because Sam and I, this is Nadia here, have been hard at work recording content for our Gates and Channels course. And it has been a lot of, I would say blood, sweat, and tears, but it was honestly so fun to record it that Sam and I sat down for weeks on end and we did very deep dives into each of the 64 gates of human design and the 36 channels. And if you don't know what that means, I would say that the gates and channels are where I've stayed in love with human design. I was brought into the system, finding out that I was a projector, finding out that I was a 4-6 profile, finding out that I was splenic. That's my decision making authority. But what's kept me in love with the system over the past several years is really a contemplation, a deep contemplation of the gates and the circuitry of my own chart and those around me. And I just feel like the system really comes alive when we study the gates and channels. And it was truly by like doing readings and finding as much information as I could online and through courses, but really like sitting with people and telling them about the energetics of the gate and hearing real life examples from them, where I started to really understand the mechanics of how the gates work. And I felt very frustrated when I would try to send people after a reading. They're like, I want to read more about this. And I'm like, I feel like I don't have anywhere to send you actually.
So, Nadia, I 100% agree. And I want to pause here for anyone who doesn't. This is Sam, by the way. Great to be back. I want to pause here if you don't know what the gates are or just not sure what we're referring to. So, pull your chart, grab a screenshot of it. If you don't have it, go to moonrisecommunity.com. You can go to our Get Your Chart tab, and we have free charts. When you pull up your chart, you'll see these numbers on the left and right side. My number starts with 59, Nadia starts with 42. It'll be a number somewhere between 1 and 64, and there'll be 13 numbers on the right side and then 13 numbers on the left side, and there's these numbers correspond to the numbers in your chart. If you look at the different shapes like the triangles and the squares, those are called centers, you'll see different numbers, and certain numbers will be colored in or like highlighted, and that's because they appear on this list. And that's what the gates are. And the channels are just like the full lines of this. And as Nadia is discussing, gates and channels are these unique energetic blueprint. Kind of think of like your fingerprint, because you're how they all the ones that are included in there are actually very unique to you, and they make up what it feels like to be you, what your gifts are, the themes that you experience, and what you're going to be drawn to most in this life. Okay, Nadia, go ahead. You were talking about how it's like there's no this information isn't widely available.
It's so frustrating when people are finding out about this. They're like, I want to like learn more. Where do I go after doing a reading? And I was like, I just don't know really where to send you. And it's from this, I wouldn't say frustration, but just like longing for this to exist that you and I created this course. Like we really are happy that this is out in the world now.
This
And
is
we want
something,
people to find it.
yeah, this is something we did because truly because we wanted it to exist. Like more than anything, I think almost everything we create has like some sort of like altruistic piece, but like this one was much more just like I just want this to be out there. I want people to benefit from it. It almost feels to me a little bit of a responsibility. Like I'm for reasons I don't know if I'll ever understand. We're deeply pulled into human design and felt just an extreme passion and conviction to understand and learn about the system. And now I've accumulated so much knowledge, and it just feels right that we should record some of this and disperse it. Because it, to Nadia's point, like I will use the word frustrating. I found it very frustrating, but from a personal perspective, when I was learning about the gates, I was having a really hard time finding information that I understood about them. The human design training that I took covered the gates very, very quickly, which is true with most human design classes. Many human design classes cover them in 2 or 3 or 4 hours, which is boggling. Our class is, I think, 17 hours plus extra bonus content. And so you just don't get enough when it's covered that quickly. And so I'd look on Instagram and I would get like a phrase or maybe like a sentence. And I was like, okay, that's kind of helpful, but not really. Or I would go to the Roz lectures and his books, in which they were really hard to decipher and confusing. And it just took me like a year or two of like talking to tons of different people, paying for readings with different teachers to be like, can we just talk about these few gates? Like, I'm really confused about them. Um, Scouring podcasts for anytime someone would be like, they would kind of happen to talk about a gate, and I'd like go and write down the things that they said. And over time, trying to read the gene keys, which at that time made no sense, over time I was able to piece it together. And then of course by doing hundreds as I progressed later with a little more knowledge during readings, and then that will um, that gives you a lot when in readings. You learn a lot as a reader because you're hearing from firsthand experiences and contemplation. But I just don't think anyone should have to do that. Like, I would have never done that if I wasn't so obsessed with human design. And so we wanted to make it so people who are interested but don't necessarily want to pour that much time in, or why would you need to now?
Mhm.
And to give our takes, because I think every reader has their own unique takes, and I would like to give ours some room because I think we have good ones. But they're also special and unique to us, and I'm glad that we have like an opportunity to share it.
Absolutely. Usually, when you're learning about gates, you're learning from just one teacher. And the difference between our courses and the work that we do at Moonrise is that you have two perspectives from almost opposite definition in our charts, meaning like the centers and the gates that are defined are very different. And so you will get differentiated takes and hear us sort of like go back and forth. It's going to fast track your understanding of the system. And this course is really for someone who's going to pull up their own chart, but then the charts of everyone in their close orbits. Maybe it's their family members, maybe their children, spouse, perhaps some coworkers, family of origin work. This is really deep work if you want to look into the themes of the people in your life. I know I've gotten so much clarity about my parents through studying their top gifts or their top gates and their channels, and pulling everybody up and basically going through. And as much as you want to dive into it, you can like listen to all of them in a sort of like single setting, or you can continue to take it on walks with you, like a podcast episode. You can dive in and dip into this whenever you feel called. And yeah, we're just really excited. So, what this episode is today is a deep dive into one of our top gifts in human design. And so we're going to share basically our sun gate, which is, if you look at your chart, the uppermost right hand number that is listed is going to be the theme of your life that is most prominent. It is the theme of human experience or the gifted quality that you're here to really lean into.
This is makes up a huge part of your energy. So in this episode, we're going to talk about gate 59, the gate of sexuality or the gate of intimacy. That's my sun gate, conscious sun. So you have actually two suns. This one on the right side, or personality sun. And this is everything comes back and touches this. So this is your greatest gift, or it has the potential to be your greatest gift. Maybe you're not connected to it, but it's definitely worth leaning into. But it's a quality and an experience that you're going to want to have in center in each part of your life. And it's something that can be a theme. So, intimacy and sexuality was a huge theme and challenge for me. If you're connected with my story, I talk a lot about sexuality and intimacy because they were my biggest like pain points and what really pushed me into spiritual awakening, but also the places for the biggest growth. And that can be very common with the sun gate. When I first learned that my sun was gate 59, I was disappointed because I was like, dang it, I was hoping just to get to avoid this topic. And actually it's obviously meant to be here. So when we're going to give you this one, you may have gate 59 in your chart. Maybe it's your sun if you're born in around August 26th, but maybe it's not, but it could be in any other placement. And so pull up your chart, look for number 59, and know that this energy and these gifts apply to you. It just maybe shows up differently in your life than it does in mine or in other people with their sun.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have 59 in your chart, I think it's a really interesting theme of experience to reflect on. You might find that there are themes of intimacy or sexuality that you start to think about and ponder in your own life. I find so much wisdom in all of the 64 gates of human design, and I love to study all of them, even the ones that I don't have. So, welcome to the mystery. We're so excited for you to dive in with us today. And without further ado, we're here to introduce Gate 59.
One more thing, actually, one more ado, um, is if you're interested in our Gates course, go to our website. It's all self-paced. You can you just buy it and download it right away. We also have our whole self-paced human design class. So it's like 40 plus hours of recordings, lectures. If you don't know about gates that much, but also want to go deeper into every other topic, go look at those. We get great feedback on those. That's the best way to learn from us right now. And anything else, Nadia?
Just that we made the price point of these courses very accessible. So the price of the Gates course, the Gates and Channels course only, is $250, which is basically the cost of a single reading.
275, I think.
275,
Yeah.
275. And then the cost of the human design training course is $500. So basically the cost of two readings. And then you get all of this access to content. And just to clarify, you can get access to the Gates and Channels course only for 275, or you can purchase the entire human design training curriculum, including Gates and Channels, for 500.
It's such a good deal. It like we're not just saying that. We did this because really our intention is just to share what we learned, and we want anybody who would benefit from this or who's interested in it to be able to access it. All right.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
Gate 59, the gate of sexuality. We also call this the gate of intimacy. The center that this gate is connected to, you'll see 59 hanging out right here in the sacral. So it makes sense, the gate of sexuality, that it's related to this part of our bodies, the sacral motor, because that's where our sexual organs are housed in our bodies. The astrological sign that this is connected to is Virgo. Virgo is the Virgin, which is quite an interesting connection point here, but it's also the goddess energy connected to the earth, very body-based energy, connection to health and well-being and organization. So I love that kind of compatibility between the two energies. And the I Ching here is called dispersion, which makes sense. Sexuality and intimacy disperses energy. This is Samantha Fountainhauer's top gate in human design, so she's going to describe it for us.
All right. So if it's my top gate, what we mean by that is it's located in my sun. So this person's is 26, but mine says 59 there. So the gate of sexuality, I often call it the gate of intimacy. I'll explain why I do that. Is possessing the energy to bond with others, particularly a partner. So these people have the gift of breaking down barriers to intimacy to achieve co-creative personal and professional partnerships. They have the gift of staying open to others. And this is important, a deep desire to connect intimately with the people around you. And there's an energy here of creation, because the most creative thing that we can do, our bodies can do, is reproduce. It's literally creating new life. And so we also think of this creation as this ability to add energy, to have like a fertility within you, but to create newness, to create new projects, to birth new things into the world. So it's not that everybody has this, will feel drawn or desire or have the ability to have children, but there is this like desire and ability to create new and to create new life. And I think because of that, an attunement to vitality and to what sparks life and the environments that real aliveness can live in. So let's talk about the sexuality versus intimacy. I often call this gate the gate of intimacy, which a lot of people do, the gate of intimacy, because because when someone hears sexuality, it can be a little bit jarring. But two, and I think most importantly, because it is more accurate to me. The gate of intimacy, this gift of creating warmth and connection with those around you, including those who you desire to have a platonic or professional relationship. I think people born in the intimacy have a real drive to connect closely with others, or who have this gate, and a deep ability to, an ability to create closeness. And so you'll have that ability to foster intimacy and create intimacy with many people. And likely people will feel very connected and close to you, even if you aren't meaning to, you might not reciprocate those feelings. The sexuality piece is important though. When I first learned about human design, I was working with a variety of challenges with sexuality, with sexual trauma, with sexual expression. And I was very disappointed to learn that my top gate was the gate of sexuality, because I was hoping that I could just move forward with life to kind of put this stuff aside and be like, sexuality doesn't have to be that important to me. What if I just ignore it? Because it's not working, and it's taking so much effort and emotional and heartbreak to like process through this stuff. And then I saw this, and it was like, no, a huge part of your theme in your life and what makes you you is going to be a relationship to sexuality. And so you can't look away from it. In fact, you need to go in it. And the deeper you go in, the greater connection you'll have to yourself, to people around you, to your authenticity. And so I personally find that it's very important to me to always name, if somebody's born with the gate of sexuality, use the word sexuality, especially if it's in the top 5 gates on either side. So they're incarnation cross, nodes, or moon, because it's not just about intimacy. This is a desire to connect sexually with others. Many, many people are disconnected with their sexuality, are sexually repressed, or feel estranged from it in some way, often because we have a very toxic environment around sexuality in our culture, and many people have sexual wounding. And so if you are somebody who genuinely doesn't connect with sexuality, absolutely. And you have this gate, run with intimacy. However, for most people, they may need a nudge or a reminder or some framing of this is important. And I think for people with gate 59, it is important, because it is how you're meant to connect with the world. There is a sexual magic and power and pleasure available to you that needs to be explored. And so enjoy that. And what I like to frame it is that there's a way in which you talk about sexuality, engage in sexuality, that brings a lot of connection to yourself and to others, that can open you and others to a much deeper sense of intimacy and enjoyment of the world and creativity. So I often think, because we have this connection between sexuality and creativity here, and this is true for anyone, but that's why human design can be like a teacher of principles for us, is the more that we can open into genuine and empower sexuality, the more our creativity will open, and vice versa. Okay, I have a lot to say. Nadia has this gate too in her Jupiter, so I'd love to hear your perspective, and then I'll come back with more.
I don't have that much more to add. I would just say that if you have the gate of sexuality or the gate of intimacy, just recognize that it is a great gift, that you can break down barriers to intimacy with people, and notice how quickly you can make people feel at ease or comfortable with you. Notice how many people you can, quote unquote, fall in love with in this lifetime. And I find that this is a great boon to me in the work that I do working with clients, because I have 15-minute intro calls with people where they're basically feeling out my energy of like, can I feel safe telling some of the deepest things that maybe I've never told anyone before to this person? And so I feel like I'm often leaning on this gate to be like, I can trust that I can really make people feel comfortable, and that for the right people, there will be an opening. I think conversely, to what you were saying, Sam, about people being suppressed in this gift, I also think that people can take it too far, and that people can sort of like take this gate of sexuality and disperse it in places maybe that it doesn't belong. So there is kind of like a push-pull here that we're going to talk about even more so with the channel, but especially if you just have gate 59 alone, recognize it has to be a two-way street. In relationships, in friendships, in business opportunities, like open the door to intimacy and say, hey, it's here. And then just notice who walks through it. And that has been so useful for me, because I know that I can kind of like knock down people's doors and be like, hey, we're going to be friends, or hey, like, I think that there's a connection here. But being in my power really with gate 59 is recognizing it's available to most everyone, but there has to be that kind of two-way street.
And on that point, Nadia, I so agree. The two-way street, and is this person somebody I really want to be in close connection with, intimate, whether sexually intimate, platonically intimate, professionally intimate, but do I want this person around me? And are they deserving of that closeness, or do I even know enough to know that yet? I see sometimes in gate 59 people, especially if they don't have gate 6, where they meet someone, they're like, we're best friends. We're best friends now. I met my boyfriend. I met the love of my life tonight. And it's like, okay, yes, but you don't actually know them yet. And so I love that you feel so connected. You don't have to not feel that. You can feel that way. Just balance it with action. Don't act or commit to too many things in the future, or open yourself to a level of vulnerability that doesn't feel safe with somebody who may not be as trustworthy as you think. The other thing with Gate 59 is because intimacy is important to you, you will strive and need to have intimate relationships. So friendships, definitely romantic partnerships, career will not feel good to you if you don't feel like there's intimacy, if everything feels super shallow and that there isn't a rich connection. And so for me, I used to work in a job where there's no sense of community or connection at all. And intimacy is one of those things where it's like being intimate in a professional workplace, there's some, you have to do that wisely. But there are ways to have a level of closeness, even in respect to professional boundaries, or at least just an openness to connect and get to know each other. And I worked in a office in a workplace that had no really very little culture for connection. That is never going to be a great place to work for someone with Gate 59 is their son or super prominently, because your biggest gift is intimacy. And so if you're in a place that doesn't value intimacy, doesn't value connection, you're not going to be able to use your greatest gift, one. And then two, you're going to feel disconnected, and that's not going to feel good. And so people with this, it's important that the places that you're spending your energy have the ability to create intimacy and connection, that's something that is allowed and something that you can be valued for. As Nadia said with her practice, like it's a useful practice, and that I feel the same in my coaching practice, my healing practice, but also in like workshops and different things they'll do, because people will feel warm very quickly, and that will allow them to get to the actual work that we're doing fast. I think anything else you want to add, Nadia? Yeah.
I think that feels complete. Yeah. At Gate 59, it's a beautiful gift. It's a very romantic gift, actually. You want to romance life and the people around you, whether it's actually romantically or just platonically. And so lean into it. And obviously always filter through your strategy and authority, but it's a beautiful gift.